Well, hello there. I think one of the most important things in life is lifelong learning. So in this episode of CJ Raw, I'm going to tell you how I learn.
You can have it.
World famous photographer Chase Jarvis.
Macklemore and Ryan. It's PureCast, exactly the way I like it.
Again, I think lifelong learning is one of the most important things in the world, and maybe I'm going to quickly go through a couple of things that happen in my brain when I'm learning. I think the first thing is actually just getting started, doing something instead of nothing, and that happens, get started. I think that happens through a couple of things. The first thing is like curiosity. So you see something that inspires you. Let's say you're interested in learning how to play the guitar, or you're interested in photography. We'll go back to my roots. That usually comes around by seeing pictures in a magazine or seeing a friend who's a great photographer. There's a little bit of a thing, a curiosity and a passion. What I encourage you to do is to step into that, like lean in and say, okay, what is it that's interesting about this, and how can I do it? So the first thing is curiosity. My outline here. And then thing two, B here, is actually start doing it. Let's go back to the photography example. You saw some cool pictures, you say, wow, my friends are taking up photography, I wonder what I can do. You don't need a lot of equipment in this stage. You can take out just your phone, for example, and start taking pictures. The doing part is actually one of the most important things. You could sit back and pontificate for a long time, but step into it. And you don't have to love photography. You can step into it, take some pictures, realize, oh, that's kind of not that exciting. Or you can step into 4 or 5 or 6 other things. I think the important thing is doing something rather than nothing. So let's follow the thread here. We're going to step in, and we started taking pictures with our iPhone, and we loved it. And we thought, oh, this is kind of interesting. I wonder what else there is. So that's when you lean further in, you get inspired. This phase is really important because this is where you decide to go deeper. You may invest in some gear, or you may rent something or borrow a friend's camera, and you sort of lean into the thing at a deeper level. I think this is huge. Most real learning doesn't happen without some genuine spark, some point of inflection where you really were motivated, because without motivation, you're not going to get anywhere. So pay attention to those things in life that motivate you and lean into them. Beyond getting started and just doing something, I think the next sort of phase, the next step, is really about mentorship. How can you find, how can you find mentors? And I think they come in a couple different shapes and sizes. Actually, this is really, really relevant because right now at Creative Live, we've got Photo Week going on. Photo Week 2015, which is, I think, the world's largest photography education class or seminar that happens. We get between 100 and 150,000 people all over the world tuning in. So this is relevant. Say you got interested in photography, now you're leaning in. What kind of mentors can you get? The first mentor that I would talk about is a community. And community comes in lots of shapes and sizes. It can be a physical community, a local community. You need to put yourself around other people who are doing the same things. Go back to the photography example. If you're interested in taking pictures, you certainly have friends who are pros or who are more into it than others. Your dentist, I bet, your dentist probably takes a lot of pictures. But it's about getting yourself around other people. And that can be physically, or that can be digitally in a community online. And at first, totally lean back, troll, cruise. Don't troll. Troll is a bad thing, right? What is it? Peruse? No, there's got to be a better word. I'm thinking of it. What is it? Lurk. That was the word I was looking at. Lurk. Just lurk. You don't have to actually be a part of the conversation. You can lurk. You can sit back and look at what conversation is going. The point is, it's a community. You're participating, even if it's super lightweight in a community. That's important. Ideally, a little bit of physical, so you go to a meetup or something like that, and these things are out there. They're readily available. This is not sort of something that is this little obscure deal. Community is everywhere. Participate in it. So the next level of mentorship is the mentorship of an individual. And I think Like for me, I'd love to mentor, but it's very, very hard for me to mentor individually. I'm a busy person, but that doesn't, like everyone's busy, right? So when you're asking for individual help from someone, especially if they're an established pro, it's kind of tough. Inviting them to coffee is about the worst thing you can do, because if I actually took up everybody's opportunity to let them buy me coffee to teach them something, I'd be dead from coffee. I would tend to follow someone and know what it is about them that you like and actually try and add value to their life before you ask something. So if you just send me a blank email or send me an email that says, "Hey Chase, like I'd like you to review my portfolio." What that sounds like to me, as much as I want to help, is like, "Hey, you don't know me, but come do a bunch of work on my behalf." Rather than if you participate in my community online, I see you there all the time. I see you in my YouTube comments, I see you in my blog comments, that when you finally actually ask me for something, I'll say, "Oh man, I know that person. Yeah, I'm happy to help." And then I might flip you a tip or something like that. And that's just sort of, again, my personal preference, but there are individuals out there that you can reach out to, and I would encourage you to do so. That's another, like, shaping your own environment for learning. Now the third one, which I think is really, really where the sweet spot is, scaled scaled mentorship. I'm just breaking chalk left and right here. Scaled mentorship. This is actually what Creative Live is, and there's lots of other places. This is when you've got one-to-many. So right now, for example, at Photo Week 2015, there's probably 10,000 people tuned into the free live broadcast. What they're doing is people all over the world are watching, say, Jasmine Star or Sue Bryce or Chris Burkhart teaching about photography. And with our little system, you can ask questions and you can get them answered in real time. But the same is true from beyond Creative Live. The point is how can you get things like this as an example. This CJ Raw thing is how I'm trying to scale mentorship. I wanted to take the thing that I did in the last, for the last 5 or 10 years, telling people actually about how to use a camera and what settings and whatnot, that's ubiquitous now. I wanted to try and use this platform to scale higher order concepts, sort of like this one here. And we're only on episode 3, so there's about, how many more left? There's about 25,000 of these episodes left. Anyway, so scaled mentorship, again, Creative Live I think is a great example of that, but there are many others. And then the last one, this is where it really starts to accelerate. And I'm going to put this, just spoken plainly, it's practice. You've heard the idea of 10,000 hours, right? That's what something takes to master. Ideally in practice, there's a couple different things. There's one is like, how do you practice? Well, since you're participating in the community, you've got some mentors, you're certainly passionate and curious, what you start doing then is to deconstruct what other people are doing. You can imitate that work. Austin Kleon, great artists steal like an artist. Like, you should literally look at other people's pictures, try and go create a picture that looks really, really similar to that with your own techniques. And you can take what's called the creative gap, quoting Ira Glass here, the thing that if you can see a picture in your mind, the picture that you can actually make, that's the creative gap. And it starts off really big. And then the picture you can see and the picture you can make get closer and closer and closer with skill. So as you're closing the creative gap, you're learning, and you're learning by deconstructing other people's work, other people's ideas, and going out and making your own. That's a great little process. So deconstruct, reconstruct. That's thing one. Thing two is repeat. That process, I can say that I probably lived in that world for 5 years of seeing other things that are out there in the world that were inspiration. Again, if you're just copying one person, that's stealing. If you copy from everybody, that's called research. You can quote me on that one. I think that might be a quote that somebody else way smarter than me said, but I can't remember it right now. Okay, so 2, that is repeat, that thing of repeat, of deconstruct, reconstruct. And then number 3, the very last one, is try and do that cycle, deconstruct, reconstruct, make, put stuff out there, share, that whole cycle. Do that as often and as fast as possible. In sort of startup world, this would be called iteration. In the creative world, or even in the business world, this is fail fast. So try and do that as much as possible. Fail fast. And that is, again, how you close that gap from the picture that you can see in your mind to the picture you can make today. And whether that's a product or an idea or a photograph, the goal is to shrink those things so you're actually able to make the thing that you see in your mind. And that is how I learn. I'm going to recoup real quick. 1, get started. Actually do something. Follow your passions. Get curious. Lean in. Because without inspiration and a spark, you're not going to be able to take it to the next level. So it's okay to not get inspired by everything. Don't pretend that both reading books and climbing mountains and photography and needlepoint are all going to inspire you. But the things that you do get inspired by, lean into them. 2, mentors. Ideally, we're talking about being a part of a community, whether that's a one-on-one community, a community of a few people who get together once a week, or an online community like Creative Live. And then lastly, practice. You've heard 10,000 hours, practice makes perfect. There's all kinds of these sayings from all over the world. That is the key to getting great. And that's not just practice wantonly. It's practice, if you can practice with as much rigor and a little bit of shape, like identifying someone's work you love, trying to replicate it with your own ideas, and doing that over and over, that's going to get you the magic that you're looking for. So one thing I want to be cognizant of is this is sort of like, I feel like I'm teaching at you right now, but that's not what I mean. This is literally how I learn. This is how I learned photography. This is how I learned to skateboard when I was a little grom. This is how I learned to fly fish, how I learned to speak French, even how I learned transcendental meditation. Like, this is literally the pattern that I use to learn. A lot of information in a short amount of time. I hope you can take it in. And I got 2 plugs. One, again, I mentioned it already, but Photo Week right now is one of the world's largest live streaming education things in the whole world around photography. It's happening right now. There will literally be 100,000 photographers who will participate in this event. You should join it. Don't miss the bus. You can take in all this content for free. You can buy it if you want to own it. I'm pretty psyched about it. No obligation there whatsoever. Just go there and check it out. Thing 2 is the next episode of CJ Raw, or maybe not the next one we release, but the next one I'm shooting, which is tomorrow, so you better do this right now, is I'm going to review. I'm going to pick a photograph that you all submit, and I'm going to review it in the next episode of CJ Raw. So put a link in the comments, either on the blog or on YouTube or on the Facebooks, wherever you see this thing, this video right here, and we're going to aggregate quick like a bunny. So don't delay. Get your comments in there. We're going to aggregate a bunch of these things. I'm going to click through them. I'm going to look at all of them. I'm going to pick one to review, and I'm going to do an episode on that. Just telling you what I think, what I feel when I see this particular picture, and hopefully you will learn something. Now I've just broken all the chalks. Got no more chalk. Thank you for everything. Chalky high five.
You can have it if you want it. It's gratis, it's for free. There ain't no strings attached, no, there ain't no catch. Take my love, take my love, take me. You can have it if you want it. It's gratis, it's for free.